today with Jeremy Schwartz. Jeremy, how are you? You well?
I'm good, thank you. Fantastic day outside, nice and sunny, so that makes a difference.
That's what we want. Hopefully coming into better weather now.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So listen, let me ask you something I've never asked you, but it's something I've always wondered about. You made the transition from CMO to CEO.
Yes.
And it's not a usual transition you hear for people to go. How did that come about and how was it making that move?
It's an interesting point you make, because actually only 5% of CEOs do come from a marketing background, which does seem strange because being consumer facing, for companies, for me, is the secret to success. It came about because I felt there was a glass ceiling, you could say, to what I wanted to do, which was to really lead organizations. The way it happened was I left Sainsbury's, where I was the architect of the turnaround there, and set up with Marco Pierre White, of all people, a AIM-listed company to create a food company. And together we created a business called, or a brand called Glorious Soups, which you yourself might be buying or trying. I hope you do in the chill sector.
Yes.
It allowed me to be the CEO of this company, and obviously as an AIM-listed company to report as we had to shareholders and so on. So that gave me the stepping stone to then go and join L'Oreal, and then become the CEO of the Body Shop, and then take other roles, CEO roles from there.
So, and you mentioned a lot of the brands you work with, all kind of, I'm sure for me, I know them all and they're all fantastic brands. But I think what's interesting for me is you go in and you kind of historically, you turn around the companies or you improve the companies. Where do you start? When you walk in that first day, how do you get a grip on everything kind of without it just looking immensely daunting?
Well, it's interesting because I've just done a speech on this actually to a bunch of young people who are just starting their careers. And, what I told them is two main things. The first is to have an audacious, hairy goal that you want to take the company to, And then the second most important thing is to try and find a truth. And a truth is when you delve into the data and the history and the essence of the company to say what really makes this tick. What is this really about? And I have the 5 whys, and those are, if you ask why something is like that or why the company is there, the first answer you'll get will only be the superficial. It's like peeling an onion. And by asking why 5 times, I get to the truth of a company or a brand or a business or even a problem that needs to be cracked. And out of that, you can then start to create a plan that takes you to some audacious goal.
And how do people, when you ask that, when you ask the why question the 3rd, 4th time, how do people at what point do they get discomfort?
No, it's again a brilliant question, because this is unusual for people, and it can be challenging because of course you are asking to see data, you're challenging the assumption. What happens though is that at the point that you get to that truth, and let me give you an example, which is I created Coke Zero, and that came from asking why young people drank less Coke when they reached the age of 18 in Europe than in America. And it was only then, trying to get to the real core of that we found the answer that then led to something like Coke Zero. Well, of course, then everybody is totally delighted to see the output and that they feel engaged, that they understand really why that company or that brand or that problem is there, and are excited to then be on the journey to creating something better. So yes, there is a journey of a bit of pain, without a doubt. But it's also about self-discovery for people, because they then also are on that journey together. And
tell me, kind of just like with the last 2 years, and we have to refer to it, I suppose, well, not I suppose we have to refer to it, and the talk around purpose and the talk around kind of marrying up an individual's purpose with the company's purpose. When you step into these companies for the first time, how important is it to understand your employees and what their drivers are? Or does that come after you set your goals and your kind of vision?
Well, actually, quite often a way to get to a purpose can be to ask employees why they actually work for that company and why they love it. And for example, I've taken the 600 employees of a company, put them into a theater, then got them to chat to each other in threes as to why they love working for the company, and then to shout out the conclusions to that, which we then capture on a big screen and type it. And for example, at L'Oreal, we did this, and out of that, somebody said, well, because nothing's impossible when you work here, and that's what I love. And I said, okay, stop. You have just nailed the purpose or the employee proposition that we can take, which is working for L'Oreal, nothing's impossible. And that's the beauty of L'Oreal. And that was then all about really entrepreneurship, and that L'Oreal is a company that really promotes entrepreneurship. And that's why people love working there, because they can be creative and have the resources to create something in a semi-safe environment. So yes, employees are crucial.
But then to some extent, as you as an employer, are you kind of, and you are the CEO of the company, you are having to make that leap of faith that they are going to come through for you kind of when you put them in that room. And how do you kind of, and I suppose historically, as the leader, you should be standing up and saying, this is what we're doing. Is it innately in your personality that you're happy to kind of include people, or is it something you constantly work on?
No, I have a fundamental belief, and this is super important for CEOs, because CEOs or leaders think they always have to be right, or they like to always be right. They like to think they're an expert in everything, and they like to have command and control. For me, the humility that you need to have as a CEO or a leader is to be able to ask and listen deeply to those around you, and acknowledge you don't have all the answers by any means, or the answers that you can create can be and need to be fueled by thoughts and ideas that come from employees. So I absolutely seek counsel from employees of all levels, not just my direct reports. I actually go into teams and I tell them, right, I'm coming here for about an hour, and I'm going to sit with each of you for 10 minutes at your desk, looking at what you do on your computer, so that I can more deeply understand what you actually do. I can also then perhaps find problems that I can solve, but also I'm stimulated with better understanding of how the company is working, and therefore be a better leader, because I can use that knowledge to think about the future.
Thank you. Taking you in a slightly different direction, kind of CSR, sustainability.
Yeah.
I think, kind of from my perspective, we certainly have moved and are moving, hopefully continue to move away from talking about it to actually implementing kind of sustainable practices. As a business, on a practical level, how do you marry up your brand? How do you match it to sustainability kind of practically, and where do you start?
Okay. Again, a subject I'm talking to all sorts of teams on and companies as a speaker. So the first thing is that, you have to believe that this is important. And I do emphatically believe we have a climate crisis, and that companies have a responsibility to solve it. To then answer that question is, first of all, to have a purpose for either a business or a brand is a brilliant place to start, because it gives you a compass as to the direction that you are going and can go. And then to be able to find those elements of sustainability that consumers believe is credible for you to engage in, and you can engage in with in a way that's relevant to your business, and that you can make a profound impact on. So it's a combination of exploring all the ideas that you can contribute to, and then filtering them to find which ones can you make the most profound difference for the climate, but that actually people believe you're credible to do and to execute.
Jeremy, that was a complete whistle-stop tour where you blew my mind in many different directions. But I'm conscious about your time, so thank you so much indeed for those little points, and look forward to continuing our chat and finding out more over time.
Well, great, lots more to share. Thank you.